This is Kits and Wagers, where we discuss kits and wagers. No, we're wearing kits and we discuss wagering on football, aka soccer. Depends where you're listening. I am Adam Zdroik, a writer at RotoWire, joined with Chris Owen, also a writer at RotoWire. First off, Chris, how are you doing? And tell us about your kid of the day.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Nice to. It was a little touch and go last night when I was watching that U.S. men's national team game. Down 1-0 at the half, and then quick 4 after the interval. So that was great. But so I'm doing pretty well. I got here the Seattle Sounders. I think the Jimi Hendrix themed kit that they put out this year. I think it's one of their alternates, but. I don't know much about style, but I know that Jimi Hendrix is one of the most stylish dudes to ever walk the planet. So any opportunity that you can get to wear a little bit of Jimi Hendrix drip, you have to take that chance. So that's my kit for the day.
So you said it's their third kit. Do they actually wear that when they play at all?
Yeah, I was actually at Timber Sounders, was it like 2 weeks ago? And they wore this kit.
Okay, so they bust that out for the rivalry game kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think maybe this might be the secondary kit, and then they have a third one after this, but I've seen them wear it a couple times now.
Nice. Well, I'm sporting I got old school Chelsea. I'm wearing a Shevchenko jersey from his golden days.
Timeless.
Back in the late 2000s there. There's our kits. I think the first thing we got to talk about this week are the sanctions that are going on. In addition to all these injuries that have been going on over the international break. You just said you're watching USA last night. Pulisic, he picked up an ankle injury and subbed out in like the 62nd minute. So speaking of Chelsea, speaking of USA, that's an injury. He maybe wasn't going to start, but just one of the many injuries. But as for these sanctions here, pretty much, I don't know, there's at least 5 teams that are affected by this. More so, the big ones, just because you got the guys on the Brazil team that are it's looking like it probably won't be able to play this weekend. Something to keep an eye on. So what are your initial thoughts, I guess, on just this whole what's going on in general and the fact that, Richarlison is being excluded from this whole bit?
It's just, as if an international break didn't give us enough uncertainty heading into the match week. We play 3 matches that we kind of get a good idea of who's starting, who's playing. And then quickly, let's go play 3 matches or 2 matches in 2 weeks and, add injuries in there. And there's just a lot of uncertainty. With that being said, some of the uncertainty can bring some pretty good value, I think. So like you said, Man City could be down to their third goalkeeper. They could be playing Scott Carson. Rafinha could be out for Leeds. The whole Richarlison thing is funny for Everton and Brazil. It's just like, what does good relations mean in the spectrum of like playing some of the best players where there's a ton of money at stake for club and player. So there's so much uncertainty that we'll really need to keep an eye on it. And just for the we're recording here on a Thursday morning, so we're still not sure what's going to happen quite yet. But I think with that said, like there's a lot of uncertainty, and if we get some good news, like some final news here, it might be a good chance to pounce on a couple different bets.
Yeah, so I guess today's Thursday, September 9th here, and a lot of the stuff was coming out yesterday on Wednesday, and as of now, we kind of don't know like when anything's really going to happen. They could decide if these players aren't going to play today. They could decide tomorrow. This could be something that pops up, I don't know, Saturday morning even. So it's definitely something to look at in the odds. There's one thing I looked at because I already wrote about them. Earlier in the week, Liverpool were closer to about minus 140 to minus 150, and now they're down. I saw yesterday it might have been down to minus 1 -110, -115, but now they're -125. So I feel like a lot of people are they're looking at what's going to happen here because Firmino, Alisson, and
Fabinho. Fabinho.
yeah, Fabinho. So these guys won't play, but on the other end, Leeds might not have their best player in Rafinha. So
Yeah.
it's definitely something that you have to keep an eye on if you're betting. I probably wouldn't put anything in right now. If you're looking at any of the teams who are going to miss a couple players, because I mean that could change a lot. I guess it depends on the situation because I'm going to talk about Liverpool a little bit here. So
Yeah.
I just, but yeah, it's just kind of a wait and see, I guess. Otherwise, you throw that in with all the international injuries, and it's kind of a mess. This first week back from the break is kind of a mess. But yeah, otherwise, what else? You notice anything else over the break, or are we ready to get into our best bets here?
Nothing, nothing over the break that besides the total uncertainty that we have right now that I think is worth noting. There's a couple of good bets here I think that we can get into, and hopefully, we get back on the winning side of things here. I know we went into our futures last week, and excited to get focus back on the Premier League after a slight break.
Yeah, so game week 4 here. It's the last game week. There was a lot of smaller favorites, but it looks like we're kind of back on to the good teams against bad teams kind of thing. We also got the possible debut of guys like Ronaldo, and what we got Manchester United. You can get them up to -500 here at home against Newcastle. Chelsea minus a little more than -300 against Villa at home. And then it's kind of a mix and match here. A lot of equal teams playing against each other. Arsenal are -200 home against Norwich. Something interesting.
Yeah.
And looking here at our RotoWire page, I just said -125, but we got -133 at BetMGM. I think DraftKings actually has the -125. So just some numbers there to look at. And all right, so give us what you got here. What's the best bet of the week?
Yeah, there's two different bets I think that you could really consider here. West Ham Southampton. West Ham at +145 is a pretty good bet. I mean, they've been so good to start the season. Like, they've won twice and then drew Crystal Palace, all while scoring like a ton of goals. That first match, they scored 6 goals. They followed up with 5 goals against Leicester City, where Leicester City was a man down, so that should be noted. But and then 4 goals against Crystal Palace in that 2-2 draw. So so the first thing being West Ham to win at +145. Put down $10, get about 25 or for a net of 25, and then the over 3.5 goals is +170 if you really felt confident in that. And then another thing about that is that Southampton has also conceded or also been in games where there's been a fair bit of goals. In the first game there was 4 goals, second game 2 goals, and then 4 goals in the third game here. So all that being said, I think there's the opportunity to take West Ham and then take that over. There's a couple other ones here, but I think I'm going to lock in that best bet with West Ham at +145 to win. And then if you really wanted to double down, go with the over at over 3.5 goals at +170.
Okay. Yeah, I like the over one a little bit more, just because you got these two back lines who haven't really performed all that well in these opening games. West Ham, they could start Kurt Zuma. It would be his first match, and I believe he's been away with France over the international break, so he hasn't really been with the team, so he probably won't start. But it's something to look at. But yeah, I'm kind of staying away from just the away teams, I guess you could say. I looked at Southampton a couple matches ago. They're home against Manchester United. I believe they drew that one 1-1. I'm just kind of scared, I guess is the word you could say, just a little bit of taking some of these away teams, especially like West Ham, who don't have a consistent back line. They just drew Crystal Palace 2-2. So I'm kind of iffy on that one, but I'll go with your over 3.5 for sure. Also, when I was writing my article, I also like they're at DraftKings. You can bet on bands. Like you can bet on a team to score one. There'll be a total of 1 to 4 goals, or 2 to 3 goals, or however many goals are going to be in this match. And I saw you can get, if you want 2 to 3 goals, it's plus 120. 3 to 4 goals, that's plus 160. I kind of like the 3 to 4 goals right there, because if you're betting over 2.5 goals, it's minus 240, or I'm sorry, it's minus 140. So you're losing all kinds of value right there.
Right.
I mean, the main thing with that, you're just hoping it's not like 3-3 or 3-2. But do you have any favorite bands there, I guess?
No, I have not looked into those like you have, but like the 3 to 4 is interesting. But and then gives you a little bit of value. You said it was like plus 160.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, pretty decent odds if you're, really think that they can get that done. But yeah, I just think that, we're both aligned on the fact that we think there's going to be a fair bit of goals in this West Ham Southampton game.
Yeah, it makes sense. I grabbed the Newcastle over the prior game week, and I think it was 0-0 in the first half, and then Newcastle Southampton combined for 4 goals in the second half, including a late penalty by Southampton to equalize. But yeah, I like it though. I'm sticking with the overs in those Southampton games, because their defense just hasn't played all that well in, I don't know, in a year, in 6 months. They've just haven't looked very good, and they lost Vestergaard, so that's not helping at all.
Yeah.
All right, so my best bet. Again, I post a weekly article at rotowire.com, so you can check that out. I deep dive into a few more plays. So give that a look, but I'm also grabbing something from that article, and I'm kind of, I don't know, it kind of seems like a beginner move. My best bet is going to be a parlay here. Doesn't sound all that good to say. I was going to go with an upset like Brentford or something, but I'll go. You can still get good odds on this parlay, is what I'll say. So we're going back. Chelsea, they're at home. You can get them about minus 340 to beat Aston Villa. And I mean, the biggest question I think might be the Lukaku apparently has some kind of thigh issue. I don't know. They haven't had their press conference yet, so I'm not entirely sure what his status will be. But either way, I'm still kind of betting against Aston Villa and what has been a slow start for them. Without Jack Grealish. And I feel pretty confident, just the way Chelsea play. They're going to control possession. And Villa's back line is hit or miss, really. And I believe and Ezri Konsa, he is questionable to play with some kind of injury. Mings is back from a cracked rib. But I just think they're still figuring things out kind of without Grealish. And I'm not sure they're going to score against Chelsea. And then the other one is Liverpool to beat Leeds. This one's a little tougher just because they're playing at Leeds. And these teams had a couple interesting games, fun games last season. I guess the most recent result, which was probably disappointing for you as a Liverpool fan. Leeds this was back in April, it was a 1-1 draw, but Leeds had 62% of the possession in the match. But once you look, you dive into the lineups a bit, Fabinho and Ozan Kabak were playing center back in that match. I think Liverpool, they opened the season looking kind of like the team they did 2 seasons ago, not really like the team they did last season. And, they might miss Alisson, they might miss Fabinho, they might miss Firmino, but they're going to be fine. Like, they still got Jota up front. They still got a pretty deep midfield. Thiago Alcantara, he hasn't started yet this season. He could start. He's just been working on his fitness, and they got a better back line in general. And I think you can get them if you're getting them at minus 125 is what I'm currently seeing. I could take that straight up by itself. Again, this is a bet, a parlay that's going to expand 2 days because Chelsea plays Saturday and Liverpool plays Sunday. But combine those with the lot odds that you're getting right now, you can get plus 132. So I feel like I'm talking 5 minutes here, but that's what you get in a parlay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
You know, you mentioned the minus 125 for Liverpool to win, and I think that's, you know, if you didn't want that parlay, that's something to consider because that's pretty decent odds. In Liverpool without Fabinho or Firmino is, you know, they can plug that in, but without Alisson, you know, that makes it a little riskier. But Leeds without Rafinha potentially is even worse. Like, you know, on the spectrum of who misses who more, I think Leeds would miss Rafinha the most. So yeah, I think that's a good bet, and I would really focus on the Liverpool minus 125 to win.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't get that parlay, and like I said, you got the Liverpool game on Sunday, and it might be only the is that the only Sunday game? Because there's one.
Yeah, there's 8 tomorrow. So I think if there's one Monday, then that would be. We'll just look at the FanDuel main slate, and there's 7 games on that one, so pretty large slate. And then there must be, and then plus the early game, so there must be a Monday match as well.
Yeah, Everton home against Burnley is Monday. So yeah, pretty weird schedule.
Yeah.
But you got 7 games there. So if you're into parlays, there's a lot of parlay options there. Do you like anything else going on this weekend?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the theme of this has been like, what the heck is going on with these FIFA sanctions?
Right.
And I mean, probably the most attractive game to watch this week, I think, just from a pure like talent standpoint, is that Leicester City Man City match. Leicester could be down if Ederson doesn't play and Zach Steffens in the COVID-19 protocol. I think they could be down to Scott Carson and that, which, you know, Scott Carson, a professional footballer, but he's still Scott Carson. And so that just adds another wrinkle into the fold. And so it's like, well, that being said, you know, Leicester City could be without Johnny Evans. They're without Fofana. Ricardo Pereira's a doubt. James Justin's a doubt. Like their back line is just like pretty uncertain at this point. And so all that said, there's a couple of interesting over 3.5 goals is plus 180. Over 4.5 goals is plus 400. Man City have scored 5 goals in the past 2 matches each. And then Leicester City recently conceded 4 against West Ham. That being said, there was a caveat being they did have, I forget who got red carded in that match for Leicester City, but they did have a red card there.
Yeah,
so.
Jose Perez. Yeah, he's still out.
Yeah, so, you know, that would be another one to take a peek at. You know, it's an exciting game. So I think the over, and even there's some crazy odds, I think, where you could, if you thought Leicester City could get the job done, you get them at plus 475 to win or 320 draw. Even Man City, you know. So what I'm saying here is there's just so much we don't know about who's going to play in that one. So if we find a little bit more information out, it would be worth, you know, being like, okay, well, you know, this X player is going to be in a starting 11. Let's swing it this way.
Yeah, like for the sanctions, that'd be Jesus is out up front as well. So that's another guy, and I don't think De Bruyne or Foden are ready to start. But one thing with that game, looking back at last year's results, so they played last April. Manchester City won 2-0 at Leicester, but then you had that weird game early in the season, September. Leicester City won 5-2 at Manchester City, which was, you know, it was just one of those weird games that kind of came out of nowhere. So in this matchup, you know, Manchester City, they're going to get possession and all that. So it's going to be up to Vardy and whoever else starts up front, Harvey Barnes, maybe Nacho. Yeah, Nacho's going to get a start. Maybe you can go with that. Like right now, you can get plus 490 for a win. I wouldn't bet on a draw in this match. I think one of these teams is going to win. But yeah, with Scott Carson in goal, like communication on the back line is very important. It's not just about, you know, the goalkeeper and what he can provide. It's also about communication. And when you got a team like Leicester who's going to focus on the counterattack, that's going to be pretty important. So, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Just, plus 490 odds for a straight up upset there, and they're at home. So
Yeah,
definitely something that's interesting. But yeah, otherwise, got a pretty interesting slate. A lot of even games: Brighton, Brentford, West Ham, Southampton, Wolverhampton, Watford. So some pretty interesting things are going on. Again, reminder about the injuries coming back from the international break. That's the one thing that I'd look at. Like, if go to rotowire.com, check out the injuries and see what's going on. Because right now, like, if you want to bet Tottenham to win, they probably have, I mean, including the sanctions, and they have the guys from Argentina, Sanchez and Romero. Those guys are out, so their back line, we're not really sure who's going to start at center back for Tottenham in this game. Eric Dyer's there, but they could move Tanganga back to center back, or Joe Rodon. Looks like he's healthy again. He could start. And then you still got Steven Bergwijn. He picked up something while with Netherlands. Sonny Boy, Son Heung-min. He picked up something with South Korea. Oliver Skip, who started the first 3 matches, he picked up something, I think, with the U21s. So obviously, you got to look at injuries before making bets. That's the main thing. Sometimes I usually wait until, the morning of when the lineups come out to put something in, just because you don't know who's going to start, and that changes everything. And then sometimes there's injuries that pop up out of nowhere. It was 2 weeks ago, Aston Villa. They had 2 guys. Tyrone Mings had the cracked rib. He was a late scratch. It wasn't news, 24 hours beforehand, but all of a sudden he's out of the lineup. And then got Twanzebe starting that game. But just stuff like that happens. So if you're not overly confident in something, definitely look at the lineups before they come out. But otherwise, that's all we got for today. Chris, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks.
And again, like and subscribe wherever you listen, or if you're on YouTube. Again, this has been Kits and Wagers. All right, thank you.